Hi everyone, it's Øyvind Martinsen here and welcome to this video where I will show you some of my macro images so you can learn more and be inspired. Most of the images are from the rainforests of Panama, and in addition there are a few images from Norway. Let's repeat a little bit about depth of field. With a wide-angle lens we can have depth of field from a few centimeters from the camera and to infinite. However, when we are working with a macro lens in close-up situations, we have a very narrow depth of field. In this image, I used a 180mm macro lens. The upper image is taken with aperture f3.5. See the narrow depth of field. It is only a few millimeters. In the lower image, I used aperture f32. And there we have depth of field over a few centimeters. This image is a good illustration about how we can use small depth of field as a creative tool. I used aperture f3.5 and the depth of field area is only a few millimeters and the background is soft and quiet. Now let's go looking for some creatures in the wild rainforest of Panama. Here we have a pair of mating spiny cochrane frogs inside the rainforest at nighttime. These small frogs make a very strong sound. I was with two other friends out searching for them. And first we followed the sound, but when we got close they became quiet. Then we had to find them with a flashlight. In this image I used aperture f32 to increase the depth of field area. And the macro flash I use has a built-in modeling lamp. And it enables me to focus manually on the frogs at nighttime. It's a very useful tool at nighttime. And in macro work I normally use manual focus on still subjects. When I took this image I was inside the rainforest in Darien National Park in Panama. I was low on the ground when I took this image of this toad. A low position can sometimes be much better than a high position for a portrait of an amphibian or other creatures. This juvenile green iguana was positioned in a tree inside the rainforest at Coiba Island National Park on the Pacific coast of Panama. It's a unique area with several endemic species, and the national park is on the UNESCO list for its unique biodiversity. The flash brings out the colors in a better way than without the flash. When I'm using flash, I normally go to manual light metering, where I first set the ISO, then the aperture to control the depth of field, and at last the shutter speed. Panama has so many colorful creatures. This row-sided gollywasp is one of them. The curved position it took enabled me to have the whole lizard in the frame and get a close composition at the same time. I discovered this beautiful anole lizard at nighttime in the rainforest and I focused on the eye. When the eye is sharp, the rest can be blurry. The eye is our visual and spiritual connection with this creature and all other living species on this planet. Notice the small depth of field at aperture f9. This cute brown wine snake was in a tree in the rainforest. The photograph is taken at daytime, but inside a dense rainforest there is sometimes not so much light. So I used the flash and manual light metering on the camera. If I had taken the image without a flash, with the same settings in manual mode, the image would have been totally black. But the flash provided me with the light I needed, enough to portrait the snake looking into my camera. This lizard was at the forest floor of Altos de Capana National Park in Panama. I shot the image from above to capture the various colors. The flash helps me with bringing out the color spectrum. On a sandy beach on the Pacific coast of Panama, I spent a while playing with some crabs. They live in holes in the sand, and I lay down and waited for them to come up. And as soon they showed up, I shot a few frames before it disappeared again. And here it's only natural light. And here is a friend of mine doing some macro work in the rainforest of Panama. The low position is often used in macro photography, and I recommend you use a tripod whenever possible in macro work. Let's look at plants. The rainforest never stops surprising me with its beauty. These are leaf details, and I arranged the lines in a diagonal way for a stronger composition. This heliconia flower in the cloud forest was lit up by a sunbeam. The dark background gave me a strong contrast to the sunlit flower. I used manual light metering, and I spot metered on the brightest part on the flower. Then everything else fell in place. And this strange plant was photographed inside the dense rainforest of Cerro Olla National Park in Panama. I used a macro flash, and I held one of the flash heads behind the leaf, and the other was mounted in front of the lens. A creative solution you can use in some situations. Here is another with the same technique. This is inside a cactus flower, and I handheld one flash behind the flower, and the other was in front of the lens. Here I use my 24 to 70mm lens that has a built-in macro function, and in this situation I handheld an external flash unit above the green plant. The flash was connected to my camera with a flash cable. This fly amanita mushroom is taken in early morning sunlight on a frosty September morning at Dovrefjell in Norway. And sometimes natural light is the best light source. I photographed these beautiful flowers with my macro lens and my extension tubes. The tubes enable me to get closer and get a better magnification. On this star flower in Panama, I used a flash, and I converted the image to black and white in Adobe Lightroom. A simple composition with strong graphics. In springtime, there are many liverwort flowers in some areas in Norway. This is natural evening sunlight on the flowers. Wild strawberries is a symbol of summer in Norway. Here I used aperture f5.6 for less depth of field. And there are contrasting colors between the two berries and also repetitive forms. And here we see tree ants that are climbing on a colorful heliconia flower in the rainforest of Cerro Olla National Park in Panama. Macro photography enables us to tell small stories about small creatures in their environment. Colors of Panama. When you start looking for details, you will find them. With macro, you can document the small natural wonders that very few people sees. The flash brings out the colors of this burning lips flower in the rainforest. And with the use of extension tubes on my macro lens, I can get really into the details on this flower in Norway. And cup mushrooms are interesting subjects in the rainforest. My 24 to 70mm zoom has a built-in macro function which enables me to get into the leaf details. And this is in Altos de Campana National Park in Panama. This fern has amazing forms, and it is photographed on the forest floor in the cloud forest of La Amistad National Park in Panama. In the rainforest, there are many colorful insects. Here I handheld the camera so I could change the composition quickly as the insect moved through the forest floor. And here is another strange and colorful creature in the rainforest of Panama. The nature never stops surprising us. Amazing colors and patterns on this beetle in the rainforest. And look at this ant with the powerful jaws on a mushroom in Altos de Campana National Park in Panama. I found this large grasshopper inside the rainforest of Cerro Olla National Park. It climbed up a small tree, and when it reached a sunspot, I took the shot. I used manual light metering, and I spot metered the light in the sunspot. Butterflies are beautiful creatures in the rainforest. Here I used my macro lens with a 2x extender, so I got a 360mm lens, and I could take the picture from a little bit more distant. The butterfly was very shy, so I had to keep a distance to be able to take the picture. And here we have another colorful creature in the rainforest. This glasswing butterfly was photographed in the Darien National Park in Panama. And this weird grasshopper was found on the forest floor in the same national park. Leafcutter ants are amazing creatures. They cut off parts of the leaves and bring it back to their house down in the ground. With a macro lens, we can look for forms, colors and shapes that are amazing. I photographed the details on this butterfly at Cana Field Station in the Darien National Park in Panama. Most of my flash images were taken with this flash, but this is a friend of mine using another flash, a macro ring flash. It provides good flashlight on the subjects, but you do not have the creative opportunities to adjust the flash heads like I have on my flash that has 2 flash heads. And thank you for being with me in this video.